Built by the Romans, it stands as one of the best preserved structures among all those they left behind across the vast territories of their empire. For the city, it serves as both a powerful symbol and a source of immense pride. For this reason, it is prominently featured on the city's coat of arms. Such civil engineering works typically bore an inscription identifying the commissioner of the project and the year of its completion, usually a bronze-lettered plaque positioned above the 3 tallest arches. However, in the case of this aqueduct, that inscription has been lost, and we must rely on scholarly research to ascertain these details. Studies place its construction sometime between the latter half of the 1st century and the beginning of the 2nd century, during the reigns of the emperors Vespasian or Nerva. We will begin our tour near Obispo Gandasegui Street in Avendaño Square. We will proceed in the direction opposite to the flow of the water that once coursed through the aqueduct. It is precisely here that the underground channel begins, a conduit stretching just over 1 kilometer, leading all the way to the gates of the Alcazar. Roman cities required a reliable water supply. To meet this need, they utilized structures like this aqueduct to transport water to public fountains, where citizens would gather to fill vessels for their homes. Other methods of obtaining water included the construction of cisterns to collect rainwater and the digging of wells. The aqueduct of Segovia conveys water from the Fuenfría spring, located a remarkable 17 kilometers outside the city. The spring lies within the nearby mountain range in an area known as La Acheveda. The water reaches the city via a cistern known as El Caserón, the Great House. From there, it flows through a channel constructed of ashlar blocks to a tower known as the Casa de Aguas, House of Waters. This tower serves as a settling tank, allowing any suspended sediment to settle at the bottom. Subsequently, the water travels a distance of over 700 meters along a gentle gradient of 1%. It then runs for about 100 meters through an underground channel to the Alcazar. Its construction must have required an enormous amount of resources, both human and material. The Romans used scaffolding to support the centering. Centering consists of wooden pieces onto which the voussoirs of the arches were fitted. The central stone, the keystone, had to be perfectly carved into a wedge shape to exert sufficient pressure. If we look at some of the ashlars, we will see that they have a pair of holes, one on each side. These were necessary to lift them with the help of large tongs. These tongs closed when pulled upwards, clamping shut under the weight of the stone itself. Ashlars located at low heights or below ground level were positioned using oak rollers, dragged along small wooden ramps supported by scaffolding or moved by draft animals. When the height exceeded that of a man, they used large lifting wheels. They were moved by slaves who turned an axle around which a hemp rope was wound, which, through a system of pulleys, allowed the stone blocks to be hoisted. Legend has it that before this aqueduct was built, the people of Segovia had to travel a long way to fetch water for their homes. This had to be done more than once a day, making it very tiring. One day, a young woman was returning home with a large jug of water. On the way, she said aloud, "I would give anything for the water to come to the city gates by itself. That way, I would never have to travel this cursed road again." Moments later, she heard a voice asking her if she would truly be willing to give anything in exchange for not having to go for water. Upon hearing this question, the young woman turned around in surprise. She had thought there was no one on the road, but in fact, behind her was an elegant gentleman of indeterminate age, with a thin mustache and a strange, pointed goatee. The girl replied that yes, she would take whatever he offered, but her family was poor and she had nothing to give. The stranger countered that, although she didn't know it, she possessed something precious and of great value: her soul. The girl replied that since her soul was of no use to her, she would gladly give it to him. She added that if she sold it to him, the water would have to flow near her house before the rooster crowed the next morning. The gentleman agreed, and after shaking the young woman's hand, he disappeared. The girl continued on her way, incredulous, and wondering who this man could be. That night, she heard a great storm breaking out, which woke her terrified. She went out into the street expecting to find her neighbors there, but there was no one. All the doors were closed, and no light shone in the windows. Beyond the town, in the direction of the distant spring, a glow illuminated the sky. The girl headed toward it, and upon reaching the last house, she saw something incredible. In the small valley nestled at the foot of the hill upon which the city of the next hill stood, there was that strange figure. He was engulfed in flames and flew at astonishing speed from one place to another, moving large blocks of stone, which he stacked to form what appeared to be the pillars of a great structure. The girl realized with horror that this man was him, and he was building an aqueduct that would carry water to Segovia. The girl prayed in repentance, begging God to help her preserve her soul. Seeing that he was about to finish, she ran home. There she lit a candle and went with it to her neighbor's hen house. As she held the candle to one of their windows, the rooster awoke and, thinking it was dawn, began to crow at the top of his lungs. Some say that he managed to save his soul. He listened in surprise to the rooster's crowing. He then thought that dawn was breaking and that he had almost not finished the aqueduct. Resigned, he left empty-handed, returning to hell. The men completed their work, which was to last for thousands of years.